Artlist.io.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Speak for Yourself podcast. I'm your host, Casey, and we have both returning guests and new guests tonight. So let's bring them in. There we go. Gang's all here. How's everybody doing?
Good.
I heard
Not
one of
too
you
bad.
looking for me, he says again, since somebody wasted the hilarious punchline in the green room because this is a disorganized shit show.
It was very organized. You just jumped the gun.
No, it's not. You all stink, and I don't like it.
So returning today, we have the ghost of Cheesemas Past, formerly known artist of cheese. We have Evan, a non-political person, and my personal biological brother. And then we also have Sean Miller, co-founder of Fushigi. Sean, what's Fushigi?
Fushigi was a ball that I co-founded in the early 2000s. You could essentially manipulate it to do absolutely nothing. And I'm the only person that remembers it. That's why I hate this
remember it.
joke.
It's from the old Nickelodeon commercials too, right?
Anybody born 90 something up should remember the abomination that was Fushigi, and nobody gets it.
It was very big in the spirit realm.
Yeah. It was very mind-bending.
All right, Sean, let's get into it. So you are on the film crew, is that correct?
Yeah.
Or a show called Conjuring Keisha.
Kaisha. I did the whole first season on the production side of things. Basically what I was we were on the cinematics crew. So the cinematics crew, we weren't actually filming like the hunting sides of it. We were basically doing
I don't like the
these,
term,
like,
we are not your prey. We are not your prey.
I'm gonna get you. This is a sting operation.
We're looking for
Yeah, we had scripted scenarios that would be cutaways, and Evan, you can help me here with this, of that, like, essentially the formula of the show is that we go into these locations and then we introduce them with like just really high-end pre-produced shots to set up the scenarios. We cut away to VO sections to where she would be talking about these locations, and it just, like, we wanted maximum production quality for that. And so that's essentially what I did. Was I worked on a 3-4 man crew, just assisting with camera operation, doing a lot of battery maintenance. That's commonly so I basically considered an assistant camera on that. So yeah, a lot of battery operation, lighting, just everything. I mean, it's always, when you have these run and gun crews, you kind of do everything. So anything from holding the actual camera all the way down to just running, camera cards back and forth, to fighting for my life. So
Turning spooky into sexy
turning spooky
for the audience.
sexy.
we are
I
not
mean,
your fetish.
every day we woke up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. That's just how it went,
I actually have a question for Evan and Casey.
What's up?
Shoot.
It's from the spirit realm. The spirit realm wants to know why your parents gave you both girl names.
They are very gender fluid, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, Sean. So when you went on location, are those locations actual haunted locations, like historically, or?
I'm just gonna say, and Cheesemas is actually, I will agree with Cheesemas on this. They're old. Every place is old. So when you think the lights flicker because there's a demon in the room, well, then you hear some refrigerator turn on in the distance, and you're like, well, this power grid was built in 1910. Of course. But then there's other elements of when you're alone, and the great thing was that we were. I'm not gonna lie. I think ghost shows might be my calling because the call times were usually like 2 p.m. So normally in the commercial world, like you're getting up at 6, 7 in the morning to go film, and then you're usually out by like 6 or 7. We would get up. I would get up at like 1, and then we wouldn't be on set till like 2 or 3, and then we would get home at like 2 a.m. But I mean, the places weren't like inherently haunted, but a lot of them are just old. And then I think a lot of it too is just like in getting in your own head about things, because essentially we got these like, I mean, I like to be tactical with everything, tactical. So we got dossiers, and I was the only one that read them because I'm a fucking nerd. So every location has a ghost or a demon that we were investigating. So it wasn't just broad like, oh, there's weird shit that happens. It's like, no, specifically this thing causes this to happen. So we'd go and we get our dossiers, and then the whole time you're on set, you get there, it's exciting. And then next thing you know, you leave a piece of gear upstairs, and it's like, shit, now I gotta go back and get that. And you gotta
By
go
yourself.
too. You gotta go by yourself. I can't tell you how many times I'd be like, I need a PA to come with me for something.
Did they tie an extension cord or an HDMI around your waist and just kind of like guide the rope just to make sure there was always tension?
God, I wish, man.
Spirit realm.
There were so many moments when you're and like I said, people, I think the one question I get asked the most is like, are there ghosts? Are things inherently haunted? I still honestly like couldn't tell you what I think. I definitely, there's my laundry.
Yay.
I
There's a
definitely,
ghost right there.
yeah, the ghost of my laundry that's been sitting there for 3 weeks. You go into these places and you're pumped because you're doing what you want to do. I mean, I always wanted to do TV shows, and then you get in there, and then the sun goes down, and then the whole entire dynamic changes. Things just start getting creepier. You're thinking about every horror movie you've ever seen. Then you're running every scenario in your brain. Then little things start moving here and there. Your minds start racing. And so when people ask me, like, are ghosts real? I'm like, I don't know. But all I know is that my mind created 90% of the terrifying scenarios that were happening.
I don't know if you want to go down this road, Sean, but I know you had a recording in, was it LA, where things were actually dangerous and a little shady before a shoot, or maybe when you guys were packing up, because there's always like the air of anything can happen on a live set, right?
We got robbed at gunpoint in San Francisco.
Yeah, join the club.
Not surprising. Shocker.
We were shooting. So the famous like, I don't know if it's where they shot Full House but they're called the like painted houses or something. They're just really colorful and vibrant. Well, that area is very popular for gang activity, and we might as well have shot a flare into the sky or had like paid a plane to fly a flag that said "Come rob us," because we were shooting outside of a van, the production van, with a $30,000-$40,000 camera plus the whole rig. So it's not like it's a little DSLR. It was a whole rig shooting out the side. Like, we looked like a door gunner for a Black Hawk, essentially. And like, as we made our rotations, we came back and stopped, and then the PAs came out, and then also these 2 cops came up, and they were like, you guys just almost got robbed, right? And I had no clue. So it's not really like that elevated of a story, but they were like, you guys just like, we're about to get robbed. Like, we watched it in progress. And luckily, dude, the cops happened to be patrolling, and they pulled up right as soon as the gang came, like, got out of their cars, pulled their weapons. The cops saw them, and then they like took off. And dude, we like that close to getting robbed. It was crazy.
You
The
all
Bob Saget gang.
here with me?
I wish I knew the lyrics to Full House right now. Yeah, it was wild, dude. because our actually a couple of our producers had been robbed the day before. Like they go up, they smash the windows, they steal laptops, bags, whatever they can find, and then they just get out of there, just in and out, and like the cops really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, San Fran's a hellhole.
The whole time we were there, we joked about the poop app. Do you know that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. That's wild. So do you have
Enlighten me. I feel like I have to know about this.
Do you not know the poop app?
No. My mind's now just racing. I have to know.
Apparently,
Evan, there's so many people that shit on the street in San Francisco. They have a local app to tell you where it is, and you can report where they are so that other people know where it is.
It's like Waves, but for poop.
Yeah, apparently it got so bad, the whole peninsula or whatever you want to call it, bay, is just like covered in shit. And then you go there and it's covered in shit. I had a respectable looking businessman. Like he looked like if Michael Jackson had like a Nike sponsorship. I don't know. He just had this immeasurable swag, and it was like glittery. And then he had this really nice like briefcase. And we had a lot of downtime on these locations because usually we'd either get there early or whatever. And so we would just go explore. And this dude that looked like he worked for a tech startup just dropped trowel and just went in the corner. Like, dude probably had a 401k and like God in his heart and just did his business, because that's how much they just don't care out there anymore. And
hey, he's just adapting to his environment.
That's true. That's true. And actually, I do know Michael Jackson. You said he reminded me of
Sounds like things are probably cleaner in the world of cheese over there than in reality.
100%.
You're gonna make me a ghost lover instead of a ghost hunter at the end of this.
Oh, please.
He's going back for seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on some clay, and I'm gonna sneak up behind you and help you work that clay on the like Academy Award winning ghost.
So Sean, do you have what's your best ghost story from this experience?
Oh man, can I tell two?
Tell two.
Tell two. All right. One was the first episode. So like I was telling you, we had the ghost dossiers. The first episode was in this super like kind of not remote, but like old town out in Nashville, or outside of Nashville. So it's like an old town, small town. There's you got the one Best Western, and then there's a Wendy's that just fucking slaps, and that's all they got going for them. It was some haunted theater that we were at, and the whole thing was there was this old man ghost that lived there. I can't remember why he got there, but his name. Normally the ghosts were just like, it's a demon, or they were like, they didn't have names. They were like, this guy murdered this person. This guy's name was just Mr. Nasty.
Amazing.
Because the residents that live there, and we shot with the residents, and then you see the residents and you're like, yeah, no, that sounds about right.
Tracks.
That's what they came up with, was that they said, well, he's so nasty, we just figured we'd call him Mr. Nasty. And you're just like, I immediately I was scared, and now I'm not. Like, that is like, that's something my grandma would call a ghost or something, you know.
His real name is Jorgensen, and he does not like the name Mr. Nasty. He's told me repeatedly.
You know what? I feel bad for him. I think he does need a better nickname. He was hilarious, man, because 90, and I'm going to keep saying 90%. These stats are way off, by the way. The math I do is never going to check out. 90% of like the scares that we got, like I said, was either in your head, or it was because we would hide and wait for other crew members to go down a dark hallway, and then we would jump out and we'd be like, Mr. Nasty, and Mr. Nasty became like this running joke. So that was one of my favorite ghosts. The other one was the last episode was at the insane asylum, and I gotta say that was actually pure terror. If people ask me about that episode, I'm like, I don't even know if that episode does that place justice, because it was so terrifying to be there. It's just like weird vibes, weird things happening. At one point, I saw we were filming in a hallway where a double homicide happened between two patients. And I swear, dude, something ran across the hallway when I was there by myself. But I was also adjusting my contact. So I don't know, maybe it was just that. But truly leaving that place going, I don't know if you could ever pay me to go back there again, because the psychological horror that you experience on a daily basis there. I mean, that place is like, it's a maze. Awful things happen there. So many stories, like it was also in this weird town that still used air raid sirens for everything. So they had curfew for the town residents, and they'd play an air raid siren at 10 o'clock every night. Also, keep in mind, we shot this in the winter, so nighttime was 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So you'd think that it was like 3 a.m, and then all of a sudden it felt like Silent Hill was happening. They also used air raid sirens anytime there was a like town emergency, like if the fire department had to go somewhere. And it felt like Silent Hill the whole time, but it felt like real, like actually being there. It's not like just playing the game or watching a movie. It was absolutely fucking terrifying. I hated that place. We had a running theory that when they shut down the place, all the people that still had somewhat cognitive functions, because they did a lot of lobotomies there, we figured that all the people that didn't get completely lobotomized moved on with their lives and like went and became something, and then everybody else just like stayed put and occupied the town around it, because it is in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, it's like podunk, like backwoods Deliverance level like area. Truly terrifying place.
I have a question, a serious question.
Yeah.
Do you have a history of cowardice?
Do I have a what?
Do you have a history of cowardice?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. We got into the habit of listening to like true crime podcasts, my wife and I. And, after listening to so many of them, you start to get creeped out, especially if you're driving at night. We'd listen to them on road trips or whatever, but, you listen to enough of them, you get creeped out. And then after having a kid, we had to stop listening to them because they just hit different after you have a kid. So definitely know that feeling that you had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my family's typically fairly on the conservative side. So my grandma blessed me before I went on to the shoot, so I didn't really feel too terrifying.
You got the holy water.
She said she gave me the armor of God. It was a whole ceremony. I had a breastplate. Speaking of, actually, if you do want some of those videos I have from the insane asylum, I can send them to you. I don't know if you clip anything or not, but I can definitely send you those, because the air raid thing haunts me to this day, dude.
Dang. So where can people watch this?
Social shorts.
It's officially on. So Discovery Plus is where you'll watch it officially. If you don't have Discovery Plus, you can watch it on Travel Channel now. I think it's aired publicly on broadcast. So those are the places
right after
the
true crime slot.
Well, Zach Bagans is going to be first, and then like probably 10 or 11 o'clock at night will be on. But I mean, truly an amazing experience. Made a lot of friends, had a lot of really cool experiences. I also I drove the entire route. So I went from Tennessee to California, back home to Texas, back up to Tennessee, back to California. Then we went to Illinois and then West Virginia, and I drove the entire time.
Oh, wow.
It was and just seeing everything there and in between.
So do you plan on doing that again?
So the last I heard was that we got renewed for season 2. However, there was, and I don't really know how much I can say versus how much I actually know, but there was a merger that happened with, I think, Time Warner Cable, something to do with HBO Max and Discovery Plus, something there. So a lot of TV shows
Being
kind of got
rebranded to Poltergeist with P. Diddy. The new one.
what is it, Demi Lovato's one?
So in that field between seasons, do you try to find other work, or?
Oh yeah,
How does
baby.
that-
I
how does
mean,
that work?
when I'm not respecting the king of cheese and the ghosts of Cheesemas, I'm full. Yeah, I mean, I'm full freelance. Work on anything from commercials to. I did a lot of indie films last year, which was quite an experience. I got to go out to Pennsylvania and shoot this like Hitman kind of short. Did a full feature horror movie. One of the actors in Sicario was in it, which was really cool.
Nice. I like that movie.
Did he only has 2 shots. He looks at Benicio del Toro and then there's a tight of his hands, but he's in it.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of other stuff, man. I mean, I one of my big clients is the Mountain from Game of Thrones. I work for his yogurt line. They ask me pretty consistently now to go do stuff. It's a lot of fun. They're great. It's a health brand, so it's fun. I mean, I'm not really healthy anymore, but I still respect it. Yeah, Terry Crews signed on with them. That was a blast working with him. I'm actually working with some of the cast of Stranger Things on a new project that's actually starting tomorrow. So, I mean, it's just every new week, month is basically like an adventure. So it's wild.
That's awesome, man. So let's get into some weekly news. Let's see here.
Of course, it's UFOs.
Yep.
You trying to give me PTSD?
Yeah, we're starting off hot. So over the weekend, you had different reports after the Chinese alleged weather balloon of UFOs. And here is a decent timeline of it. February 2nd was the Chinese balloon. February 4th, they shot it down. And then you jump about a week or less than a week. And on February 10th, you had the UFO that was seen over Alaska, and they shot it down the next day over Canada in a joint mission, but it was our F-22's missile that allegedly shot it down, and then Canada was retrieving it. The next day, you had China saying that they also had a UFO, and then you had another UFO over Lake Huron. I think they dismissed that one, maybe.
I have
shot that one down.
authority that one was not a UFO. That was one of us. We apologize.
I think the China one is probably them doing a little CYA, like, oh yes, we saw one too.
FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a couple theories on all of this, and I'll probably cover one of them, and then I'm going to let Ghost of Cheesemas Past cover the other one, and he'll know what I'm talking about whenever we get there. So there's several lines of thinking here. The first one is what I believe, and I think it's a distraction. After the initial Chinese one, they saw how many people were distracted by it and all the news coverage that it got. And they're using all of these to distract from 3 major news reports that came out around the same time. The first major one is the Nord Stream pipeline. Seymour Hersh did an article on his Substack about it that is alleging that the U.S. blew it up, which is probably correct. Then you also have the Ohio train derailment, which is possibly the biggest ecological disaster on U.S. soil. And it's getting basically no media coverage. Last I checked yesterday, Biden hadn't addressed it whatsoever. And then the third thing
Did Bruce
is
Willis make it out alive or no?
yeah.
What rail yard was it?
I didn't write down the name.
Okay.
Um,
My dad works for BNSF, so it's like, well,
no, I don't think that's the one.
I don't think it was either.
And then the third major story is allegedly the rest of the Epstein files are going to be released soon. I don't think that one has as much to do with this because I don't care how much covering up they try or distracting they try. Nothing's going to distract people from that one. But the first two, I think it's a pretty good possibility that we're being distracted from that. Now, the other side of that is, well, I'll let Ghost go into that. You want to cover that?
Yeah, I think that if I remember correctly, they either are about to or just did unveil a gigantic security and defense funding initiative. The budget for the U.S. military is set to increase significantly. And I think that they need to have something to the effect of, look, see, there's these things that we have to defend ourselves for. They're already here type stuff.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that they're going to try to ram it through, basically. I can't remember the last time somebody reported a U.S. fighter plane downing something, and certainly wasn't over U.S. soil or territory, and it definitely wasn't 4 in a row, right? So,
Yeah, it was very strange how this all went down.
Yep.
And the frequency of it happening all within a couple of days of each other.
Mhm.
Like they're trying to build a use case of, look, see, this is why we need, this kind of technology and funding.
For sure. I definitely think that's some of it. And we have to continue, however you want to define that, continue funneling money to the Ukraine. And more importantly, the arms that we send to the Ukraine need to be replenished at some point, and people don't work for free. So we need to pump up our own internal arms purchases to replenish what we've lost. So yeah, I think that we need to have these. It was a gift. The Chinese one was a gift, and the rest were just simple. I mean, there's a part of me that wonders if maybe the University of Anchorage is missing a damn weather balloon and they just saw something. They were like, hey, down and call it something.
It was just a nice couple doing a anniversary hot air balloon.
The gender reveal.
And they
Got shot down by a missile from an F-22.
And they specifically mentioned that there's two things that make me think. So they've admitted today that they started watching that weather, the original Chinese balloon, since the day it launched. They watched it leave its launching platform in the South China Sea.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they've been watching it for forever, and that they needed to make a use case of, oh, look, because if somebody said, hey, we're going to blow up this, I don't really like to give Biden a whole lot of outs, but if President Biden went on the news and said, I'm going to shoot down a Chinese missile in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, we would think he was crazier than he already is. It needed to be doing something somewhat drastic to justify that. Violating our airspace is definitely one of those things. But then the second thing is they've said the reason we keep seeing these back to back is they've always been there. The radar's just programmed to look for something flying that slowly. So they're admitting that, yeah, of course we're going to find more. We're looking for them now. And it just so happens that he's going to have to justify that spending budget. But sure, I definitely think it's a proof of concept, proof of need type thing.
Well, the Chinese one got major bad press. I mean, the Chinese cucked us on that one pretty much. And so the other part of that is if you view it through that lens, Biden can't allow other ones to come through. So he's going to be on edge and shooting all of them down.
It is the talk of the spirit world.
The couple that got shot down.
Yeah.
So I want to get into the Nord Stream pipeline. Seymour Hersh.
No, you're wrong.
Article on it.
I think
So
you're
let
saying
me pull that up real quick.
Seymour Butts.
I was just thinking the same thing. Who's seen more butts? Who's seen more butts? Nobody's seen more butts than you, Uncle Tony.
No, not that one.
Oh my God, you can't believe this. Queen Elizabeth is here. Okay, she's gone.
Here we go. Oh, what did it do? No, I don't want that.
Is that Seymour himself?
Looked like it.
Is that his AI? His TikTok manga?
So here's the deal. Seymour Hersh is a journalist from going way back. He has a history of credibility, and I think he has journalistic integrity. He has a history of it. He was the first person to report on the My Lai massacre, which was a village in Vietnam that we basically wiped out. That was just full of civilians. He won the 1970 Pulitzer Prize for international reporting for that. After that, he reported in 2004 on the misuse of prisoners at Abu Ghraib. So here's the deal. He's credible, and he has a history of reporting things, even if it goes against the U.S. government and makes them look bad.
So he's a sounds like another way of saying this gentleman is an international snitch.
Yeah, in the best way possible. Yeah.
I'm surprised this dude's still alive. Like, I have to imagine that somebody.
I'm sure the Clinton family's looking at him pretty closely right now.
Yeah.
I see you, Seymour.
So here's how it allegedly went down. Last June, under the guise of a NATO training exercise called BOTOPS 22, Navy divers planted C4 on the pipelines, and that was it. And then 3 months later, they blew up 3/4 of the Nord Stream pipeline via a remote detonation from a buoy. So
Is that even?
is his.
Do we have
theory.
how long C4 actually lasts underwater? Like, that seems Googleable, but I don't have any.
The man at the computer.
I can't. Yeah, I don't have good internet access here in the spirit realm.
Wait, is the ATF going to start looking at me if I pull this up?
We don't say their name.
What is C4? What is the C4 considered? It's composite or plastic?
Yeah, it's some sort of explosive. It's slightly better than C3, but way shittier than C5.
I'm going to say C3PO.
C3S maybe.
How long does C4 last? Dude, I'm going to get swatted.
So what do y'all think about
Yeah,
this?
I found myself on a watch list.
Obviously, the government is denying this in full.
So,
But-
as someone that's not super in the know, other than just like the very tip top of the headlines, who benefits from this happening? Who
So
benefits the most?
here's his.
I'm looking at a pre-workout. I'm looking at the pre-workout.
So the Nord Stream pipeline ran from Russia to Germany, bypassing Ukraine, and it supplied Germany and the rest of the EU with cheap natural gas, right?
From Russia.
Yes.
From Russia. So when this originally happened, you had a bunch of people blaming Russia for this, which if you're in that group and you're watching, you're a dumbass, because that makes zero sense. So now the EU is in a position to, I guess, depend more heavily on American gas.
I think it might be more complicated than that. I don't think that there was any.
Oh yeah, it for sure is.
I don't think that there's any mechanism in place to have forced Germany and France to stop buying Russian gas. Like, you have to heat your houses in some of the winters that they have. So I don't necessarily know. I'm sure there was the idea that they'll have to purchase American, but I think that preventing them from purchasing Russian, like if that money has to go somewhere, you don't want it funding that machine, if that makes
Yep.
sense. So, yeah. I mean, it's definitely possible. Like, think about all the shady stuff that has happened over the years that we've found out about. You know, they released the information so long after it happened that everybody, it doesn't have the same impact, right? Like, whatever we find out what finally happened to JFK, nobody who was watching live will still be around, and everybody, he'll just be a name in a book to the rest of us, right? So we'll just kind of go, huh, and then nothing will happen. It'll be the same thing for this. Like, realistically, if he's doing let's say he's not already in late stage dementia, what does Joe Biden have left? 8 years. So if they deny this for 8 years and then he clutches his chest because he hustled too hard to sniff a child's hair and drops dead,
I was in the pool. They touched my legs.
then later on, when they release that, I mean, who do you punish at that point? Like the guy who did it? I guarantee you the person who, if it's true, nobody knows who actually laid the C4, right? So,
Yeah, they will deny this as long as they can.
yeah.
The latest that I heard is Russia's calling on a special UN meeting. I think this is today, that they're prepping for, to bring up the Nord Stream pipeline. So shit
I
could.
think the fact that
expand pretty
no one
quickly.
has claimed responsibility is very telling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think that is something that people would typically claim responsibility for unless it was during an overt war action. Before my untimely death in a Holiday Inn,
The motel, the hotel.
yes, the Russian expansion and especially after the fall of the Berlin Wall was my area of research in school. And man, I don't know. I can't imagine a situation where outside of a war, one of the two of them would claim it.
Was
So,
it Greta?
yeah.
Was it Greta?
Oh, it was definitely Greta.
I think it was Greta, dude.
So I honestly think if World War III kicks off, this will be the point that people look back on as the first domino falling.
Probably not. I gotta disagree. I think that the allowing of Russia to invade Ukraine the first time after we had vowed to protect them, to get them to turn over their nuclear arsenal in the late 90s, the fact that we didn't act then unilaterally, however you define it, you can really do something like that. So,
well, Casey, is this just not like a new proxy war that we're in, where Zelensky in the Ukraine is just proxy to restart the Cold War?
It's definitely a proxy war. You have officials on record saying that they want to weaken Russia through this.
and why? And if you think about it, why wouldn't we? That has been something that we have wanted to do since the end of World War II, right? You had Patton saying things like, if I was caught in between a German and a Russian army, I would charge in both directions. So this idea that we have anything contempt for them, it might be polite contempt and it's getting less polite, but we have wanted a weakening of the Russian platform for a very long time, because I think that we understand that any future conflict that we truly have is going to be with China. Russia is, they say they're the second army in the world, right? But when you look at something like the United States platform, that's a big difference between first and second, right? So the weakening them and forcing them to recognize that they are no longer in a situation to be considered a superpower would allow the United States to focus solely on the looming Chinese conflict.
The great balloon war.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You know, one of the things that they like say is that that was something like a monitoring cell phone or monitoring whatever. But what if that was a dry run to see if just a machine could survive that flight path? And what if that's the plan for an EMP? If you think about how much we are reliant on electricity now, you don't even have to really fight a war. You could just cripple a couple of economies like Dallas or Los Angeles or something like that for a few days until the power grid comes back up, and you've already done significantly more damage than you would have otherwise. So,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. EMP run.
yep. Or chemical, something. Although I don't see that big.
Or a mild winter storm in the Midwest.
Yeah, so Russia has all the nukes though, and that's more what I'm concerned with. I think they are trying to weaken Russia, but I think that they are poking the bear, so to speak.
Oh, 100%. I think that when you have things come out like the United States is actually targeting their missile strikes and it's just a Ukrainian hitting a button. I mean, if you were Russia, if you were Vladimir Putin, you would see that as a justification for striking a NATO infrastructure, right? And they cannot win a conventional war. They would have no choice but to use some sort of a nuclear card, whether it would be a tactical deployment or a full intercontinental ballistic missile. It's hard to. I mean, you can't predict the future, obviously. There were some reports during the first Ukrainian conflict that there was a limited nuclear exchange based on the size of the explosion being felt on the seismograph for some monitoring, and it turned out just to be a tremendously large conventional weapon. So if you think that that's the type of thing that we can do without using nuclear power, imagine what a small tactical nuke would do to a landscape like that. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, I don't think they want to nuke Ukraine because they want to occupy it, right? So the only way that I see them using that is if they're losing and Ukraine pushes into Russian territory, or if they want to strike the U.S. or maybe Poland.
Yeah. The problem is whose definition of Russian are you talking about? Pre-2014 invasion, and anything that used to be Ukrainian and should once again be Ukrainian that Russia now considers theirs. So Ukraine's not allowed to invade into their own territory because it's considered Russian without risk of a nuclear strike. Like that's a pretty big concern.
Yeah, that's getting into the clusterfuck of it, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So the other thing that I want to talk about is the Ohio train derailment. Have y'all seen much of that?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's mostly like citizen journalism. You're not seeing as much of it as I would like to see on the.
Well, I saw a thing earlier today that was like basically the movie White Noise on Netflix kind of predicted it.
Yeah, didn't it take place in?
Yeah, I mean it's like it's literally 1-to-1. Holy shit, is that the picture?
Yeah, so that is the.
I haven't seen a wide shot like that.
Cloud that's over the city.
I mean, that looks like a nuclear bomb went off.
What's the White Noise? I'm sorry. Could somebody tell me what that is? Clue?
White Noise is a movie with Adam Driver and Don Cheadle on Netflix. That's like a 1-to-1 foreshadowing of this exact event.
Same town.
However you want to look at that, you want to, mom's basement, that shit, like go ahead. But it's a wild comparison from what I've seen.
Something that was so likely to happen that an idiot in Hollywood could come up with it, and then it did. Problem, right? So stupidly predictable, and nobody did anything about it. That's a little. But I don't think it's. I don't know how old you guys are.
Nope.
Well, I'm Fushigi old, if that helps.
I'm 107 next June, but that.
So that's either from an airplane or an orbital shot.
Huh.
Wow,
that's wild, huh?
There's definitely going to be a problem, dude. That stuff is not good.
What was the cargo?
So you had 100+ cars that got derailed, and they held toxic chemicals. The main one was vinyl chloride, which is used to make PVC. And they're afraid because of the fire that everything would pressurize and explode, sending shrapnel everywhere. So they opted to do a controlled burn on it, and that controlled burn is sending all
Send
that
it
up
upward
into
into
the
the
air.
atmosphere.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, you have reports of animals dying. You have all the fish in the lakes and the rivers dying. You have larger animals getting sick. People were told to evacuate, and then I don't know how soon after that they were told that it was safe and that the air was being monitored. But they would come home and
Yeah, like
all their chickens would be dead.
yeah,
They're also like advised to
Could be
drink.
our Chernobyl.
dude, that's a really good call, man. I didn't even think about it like that, but that is a tremendous call, because what is the alternative? If they are monitoring the air and they go, hey, no, this is toxic for, like, who pays for X number of hundreds of thousands of people to relocate? Like, does that become
Yeah. Well, they're supposed to drink like bottled water now. I mean, this same thing happened in Oklahoma, right? With that mining town where they there's like lead or arsenic being drained into the waterway, and then people refused to leave, and then they finally were like, yo, this town's poisonous. It's a ghost town now.
Yeah, so you have people in surrounding towns and communities that are testing their water already finding those chemicals in the water. So this is going to keep spreading, not only in the water, but when the wind blows that shit's going to get everywhere.
So did anybody else here look at this as a be prepared moment, like a Boy Scout moment?
Yeah, of course.
It is always a good idea to have some sort of food and water on hand and the ability to leave quickly. Like, it's so scary to think about, because you think about the big ones. Somebody might nuke a big city. The areas that have fault lines are typically, hey, there's going to be earthquakes in California. They call Tornado Alley for a reason. But think about how many miles of shipping rail there are in this country. Like, this is the smallest, most nothing town I didn't even know it existed. I had to go to a map. So if you, where it really is safe, if this is something that we have to worry about.
Yeah, I have a railroad probably half a mile from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I can hear one from my backyard for sure.
I'm already feeling like I need to go to the grocery store tonight. Luckily, my parents are preppers, so if worse came to worse.
Yes, let's rely on somebody else.
Sometimes you got to, man.
I'm starting to want to hunt you again.
I'm pretty wily. I am pretty wily.
So the last thing I want to point out on this is allegedly there's 75,000 farms in the area, which all the livestock and the ground is going to be affected by this. And 90% of those are owned by, they're like family operations. They're not corporations.
Uh-huh.
So food
Feeding
shortage.
into the bigger conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely go that route if you want.
That's what that means, right? Food shortages. And
I mean,
I wonder what their primary crop output is. Like, if it's wheat or eggs, or you know what I mean? Like, what's going to get impacted the most?
That's definitely something to look into.
I had a 10-egg omelet today, ghost omelet, a 10 ghost egg ghost omelet. If you were wondering how rich I am in the ghost world.
Does this have, I mean, Casey, does this have like correlation with Biden blowing up those food plants and shit?
I think it's a pretty big stretch to just flat out say that Biden is blowing up food plants. I mean,
I don't know. I heard something about it. Again, I'm not the political one here, so.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely been instances where you've had, food processing plants go up in fire. And then you've had the egg shortage, and you've had the avian flu running through chickens. So that's why you see all the egg prices going up. And then there's also the whole thing that was mainly on like TikTok and Twitter where people's chickens just stopped laying eggs. And then they found out that the food, after they switched it to a different brand, their chickens started laying eggs again. And I can't remember the brand. It's a really popular name brand food. What was it?
Wasn't it being stored weirdly? Like if they were storing it within X number of square feet of their fuel. And
Yeah, I've heard that too, but I heard it was a brand that was really popular.
Yeah.
Anyway, once they switched the chickens off of that specific feed, their chickens started laying eggs again. So that kind of lended itself to all the conspiracy theorists.
So I think that, I do have a question. Are you still on TikTok?
Yes.
You're worried about the Chinese spy balloon over Montana, but you're going to carry around a Chinese spy balloon in your pocket.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do with that? They're going to see that I like watching bushcraft videos and like comedy.
It's all the other stuff on your phone too. They have access to. I don't understand why you would in a million years think that is a good idea. I am very ghost disappointed in you.
I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to. In fact, there is a theory that Silicon Valley created that narrative because they lost out against TikTok when they were like when Facebook and YouTube and Twitter were big and getting all of the ads on those websites. Now all of that crowd has gone to TikTok, so they needed basically a boogeyman narrative. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the other side of that coin.
The boogeyman is also a ghostist term that I wish you wouldn't use.
It can't be as bad as Mr. Nasty.
No,
It's offensive to ghosts everywhere.
I think it's all of the, you're talking about the threat of your data being collected. At least from my perspective, also like Sean being in the media industry, the power of deep fakes and just what you can do with all of that raw info to influence people's decisions, it's kind of it's a twofold there where TikTok is literally like emotional roulette, where at first you might see a dog knocking somebody over, and then you flip and you see the planes hitting the towers on 9/11, and then you flip again and it's a poem that somebody wrote, right? You got that influence, but then all of these filters that people are trying out that's literally scanning their faces and sending it to some server somewhere. There's no, like, you lose all of your agency if that gets put against you. So I think that's kind of the threat of that technology now, whether it's Chinese or our own government that's going to put it to use.
Or even
deep fakes are really going to be a problem in the future.
Dude, have you seen the new AI generated like special effects videos / just regular videos where people put in prompts of just like fire in a field, and it's like it generates like people's footage non-copyrighted, and then it adds in like the field on fire, and it looks incredible.
Is that a Unreal Engine?
I wish it was Unreal Engine, but it's not. It's the new AI program, and that's like, I don't even know what it's called. But it's you can basically code films now if you wanted to. So
it sounds like it's essentially Chat GPT for film.
Yeah, we're essentially going to be gone soon. They're not going to need us anymore.
No,
Don't say that.
I also, Evan, you saying that I'm a media person. I think it's important to note that Evan is the man that trained me to be the media person that I am today. I think we need to, clarify that on this episode.
You've been a beautiful butterfly and gone out in the world and done more than I have. So.
Well, unfortunately, my editing's gotten worse since then, so I don't know if that's good or bad. Take it as you will.
You brought up a really good point about who would be using it. So I've just thought of something that happened yesterday, actually. A friend of mine asked me, what's it called when you fire a round and it was a bad load and it doesn't have enough velocity to exit the barrel of a gun.
I just call that a Tuesday.
Erectile dysfunction.
Yeah. Oh,
What is that? That's Casey, help me out here. That's what are they called? International ammunition. God, what's the name of that ammunition? Federal. Is it federal ammunition?
Yeah.
Federal ammunition, dude, jams like a motherfucker.
so, and I just responded, I've always called them a squib round, right? That was the entirety of the text exchange.
You called them a what?
I've always called it a squib round. I'm sure there's another name for it, right? But that's just what I always called it. The next morning, so that would have been this morning, I was waiting for a meeting to start, and I was just going through YouTube Shorts, and like probably out of the first 30 I scrolled through, probably 8 or 9 of them were misfires, and it was a 2-sentence conversation, and that's not something that's normally on my YouTube feed, so it might not even be as in our face as China or the U.S. government or somebody is stealing our information so much as it is the company is stealing it. You know what I mean? They're listening into everything we do. So that's a pretty good point. Whoever said that.
I mean, I get targeted ads. Yeah. I mean, and I don't, Casey, I'm kind of on your wavelength, bro. Like, I feel like really what's the worst that they're going to do with my info? I mean, are they going to send my nudes out? Like, I mean, I don't have nudes, but like, like you run. Yeah, right. They only go to Evan.
It's your OnlyFans link.
You wonder really what are they stealing? I think first thing comes to mind probably be like bank info. Like, what are they stealing money from here, from there? But I think it's surface level, and I'm going to talk surface level because I'm not a data whatever.
They're going to be really disappointed when they look there.
Fuck, this guy's nudes suck. What do I get? I get targeted ads for stuff that I'm interested in, and like I think the last thing that, like, again, I get concerned because when I watch TikTok and then I go to Instagram, then I see things that I'm like, how the fuck do you know that I'm into that? And I will say, Casey, to your point, I think the most damage that information being sold on my end has done is that in the last year, I bought some Japanese-esque clothing that are super comfy, and then I bought sunglasses that were kind of cheap. And that was the most damage that was done based off of stealing info of my interests. Again, that's all surface level. That's not deeper.
Yeah.
Like, what else are they selling? But I feel like a lot of people kind of over kind of jump this idea that it's like, well, they're like literally stealing everything from you, and maybe they are. Again, I don't know. But at the end of the day, Google is doing the same thing. No. Google is paying. Google has an entire team dedicated in agencies that are even here in Dallas that are dedicated towards using your information to target ads. My last roommate was actually part of that too, as well, is that she was in advertising, and her whole job was to take the metrics, take the viewership, take the SEO, and analyze what these people are looking at, what their age range is at, what they're interested in, and then that's how they deploy effective advertisements.
But that's a benign use, and I think that's actually kind of a benefit, right? Like if I'm scrolling through YouTube mindlessly, I obviously want to see the videos that I want to see. That's why I'm there. And if I have to watch ads, I would like them to at least be ads that are related to me. But what happens when they reach a market cap on how much that they can get each of us to buy, and they start selling that information to insurance companies, and your insurance company goes, this dude Googles pizza all the time.
Oh, shit.
I'll let you know when it happens.
They just send them my Uber Eats receipts, and I'm fucked.
So like, it could be something as nefarious as that, and they say, well, you're a health risk, and you're like, no, not my last physical came back fine, and they say, well, once a week you eat at Wendy's, or you watch gun videos, which means you probably own a gun, and that's a health risk. Like,
this video was sponsored by White Claw.
Yeah, and now you're an alcoholic, so let's add that in there. oh, and you drink, so you're an alcoholic who drinks. I'm sorry, you're into guns, so you drink and you're into guns. I could see insurance companies going pretty wild on that. What if it's not even anything like guns or alcohol? What if you're constantly Googling or YouTubing home improvement projects, and they sell that to the guy who owns your homeowner's insurance? And they're like, oh, this dude's a goddamn disaster. He's going to drill through, do you see what I'm saying? Like you think it's just targeted for now, but at some point they are going to find a way.
Minority Report action there.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't not agree with that. I think people are so afraid of so many other things when information is the biggest kind of scare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, information's the new currency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we trade it for comfort. That's the handshake we make.
Can I tell you
Comfort and entertainment.
we all just said some stuff, and it was pretty cool, and we're all going to go home and lay our little heads down on our ghost pillows, and we're going to think to ourselves, man, we really said some poignant stuff. And anybody who watches it is going to go, man, there were 4 jackasses today, and they all thought they were so cool, and they're going to hate it.
That's the risk we take.
Mm-hmm.
It's a risk reward situation.
Every day I make a new music video or commercial, I'm just like, everybody's gonna fucking hate this.
What's the reward, though, Casey? You just said
If we actually bored somebody to death, you'll have to report back next week. Jeez.
Oh.
Let us know.
that's kind of how I died. I was kind of bored to death. I was in a Holiday Inn in Aransas Pass, and I had a autoerotic asphyxiation incident in the closet.
Being the cheese man, I feel like it was lactose intolerance. You sure?
You know what? I'm changing my origin story. It was definitely a lactose intolerance.
Because I'm pretty sure I had a pizza the other day and almost fucking died on the toilet.
Hey, these things.
Cheese, I want to change the subject real quick.
Alright.
You've been getting into ice baths.
When I have a corporeal form, like right now, I try to get in the tub and I just hover like 34 inches above it.
So how's that been for you?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it a great deal. Helps the knees.
So do you do it mainly to reduce inflammation?
100%. 100%. But I will say this. I've been doing them now for 3 months every other day. And my ghost anxiety is better too.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yep. But no,
So I have a funny story for you.
well,
So
how
I've
about
been doing.
stop? You say you have a
Go
story.
ahead.
3 of us will tell you. Funny. Jesus. The narcissist on this guy.
So I've been doing cold showers for about 2 weeks with the idea and goal in mind of doing cold plunges or cold baths, ice baths, whatever. And this morning I filled up the tub with the coldest water that we had. And, I go eat breakfast and I come back and I get ready to do it. And my mistake was trying to ease into it.
Now you just gotta hop in.
And I got both feet in 4 times, and I could not will myself into the tub because my toes immediately were like hurting.
Dude, that's
So
got
it's going to be a new mental and physical challenge for me just to will myself in there. I think I'm going to reattempt tonight.
the coldest I can get tap water bath to be is like 68 degrees or 67 degrees. Like that's really not all that cold, dude.
Dude, this one was so cold, and I don't know why.
How cold was it?
This was so cold you could drink it without ice, and it would be, a cool beverage.
I bought
And
some,
another thing that was interesting is, behind the shower dial
yeah.
that turns it from hot to cold,
Mhm.
there's an internal dial that you have to set. And ours is set, I think, a little bit on the hotter side. So to me, when I've been taking these cold showers and I turned it all the way cold, it was not even close to comparable to the cold water coming out of the tub.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So I think it has to do with that. And then obviously, there's more surface area water touching you.
Oh, sure. I bought some jumbo ice trays and I keep them in the garage freezer. You can find on Amazon, and it says they're for hunters and fishermen who want to keep their catch or kill fresh as it comes back to, as they bring it back to civilization for processing. I think that each one of them makes like 10 pounds of ice, and the cubes per square are, the per tub are, there's 6 4x4 cubes. So it's pretty.
Dang.
I got 3 of those, and it comes out to 30 pounds. And the coldest I can get it down to is 42. I bought one more. It's on its way. I'm going to try to get it down to in the 30s.
Man, it is super cold, uncomfortably cold. Trying to get into that, but I'm going to read it tonight, I believe. And did you kind of have to ease your way into that?
No,
Did you cold shower thing and then like just regular cold water?
I've always really, really, really enjoyed the cold. And so we had a freeze here recently. I'm in DFW. And what drove me to the idea of an ice bath is I like the cold so much that I actually took a shower in cold water and then went and sat outside for a little while, still wet. And I felt amazing afterwards, and I started looking it up, and I was like, oh, God, I'm an idiot. Why don't I just put ice in the tub? And that's the story was born.
Yeah, there's a ton of health benefits that come from it, apparently. It kind of calms down your anxiety and maybe even depression a little bit. There's reports that it increases your testosterone.
Oh, maybe.
Do what?
I said maybe. I can see that.
Yeah. Obviously, it battles inflammation,
Yeah.
and then it also kind of dials down your metabolic. What's the word?
No,
Burn rate?
metabolic rate, maybe.
Yeah, your metabolic rate.
I'll say this: I have had less of an appetite since on the days that I do it, I have less of an appetite. So maybe it does kind of kill that.
There's some dude on Rogan that said he did cold plunges and then he would immediately go, row or bike or whatever to get his body heat back up, and he had a exponential growth in his testosterone.
Really?
I don't know if that's true, and I'm definitely not doing that yet because I'm not even there yet. But I just thought it was interesting.
That sounds pretty cool. I mean, I guess I could see it. I actually have a physical coming up in a month or so. I'll have them run my testosterone while I'm in there. I'll say, hey, that for me.
Apparently, that's what Borg did. If you've seen Borg versus McEnroe, the tennis movie, before the night before tennis matches, he'd go into his hotel room and turn he wouldn't cold plunge, but as far as cold, he'd turn the AC down to like 50 degrees or something and just sit there, and it lowers his heart rate. But it was a method that he did before every match.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wonder if, because they say like the mentality of what you think it is way more beneficial than what the actual research shows. Like I remember when they did that study about whether or not you should abstain from sex before a sporting event, and they did NBA players, or maybe they were college basketball players, I can't remember which, and they found no actual metric in between people how they performed, whether or not they abstained. And then they went and performed the same study with another group, but separated them by people who actually believed that there was a difference in between. And 100% of the people who thought it would impact your performance had an impact to their performance. And 100% of the people who didn't believe it impacted their performance, it did not impact performance. So who knows?
I thought that was a big superstition in the like boxing and UFC world.
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, that is definitely a huge.
What's the smash before a round and then you fight better?
I think
no, you don't because
smash.
it lowers your testosterone
Because you're drained,
and your like aggression, I guess.
And that's what the study was trying to disprove. Now, the caveat to that is even when I was alive, I wasn't very smart, and I haven't gotten any smarter since I'm dead. So,
Actually, gotten dumber.
yes, correct. I don't
Didn't
have
get any action before you died.
well, I was going to say I don't really have the science skills to like. I read the article, but there's no part of me that truly understood what they were saying, and it could have been telling me the wrongest, most blatantly wrong information in the history of information, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you the difference because I don't really understand. So,
Well, guys, we're running a little bit long. Cheese, do you have anything else you want to go over?
well, it's eternity. So this, however long we've spent, was just a blink of the eye for me, my friend. So, no, I
Sean, Evan, you want to go over anything?
I'm good. I always feel enlightened when I spend time with this group, so I love it.
Man, I really got nothing left. Unless you have more questions about the show, I don't really. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me. I've kind
You
of
guys
told you
want to
everything.
plug anything?
Have you ever had a ghost watch you poop?
Oh, actually, spooky shits. I took a
There's a
photo.
name for it.
I took a selfie in every bathroom that I shit in on set for every episode, and I called spooky shitting.
Oh my god!
And it was
Start your own
exhilarating.
Twitter.
It was exhilarating, dude, because when, like, for example, San Fran, that house was super haunted, and I just remember one day we got to, and I'm a
You
shy.
didn't take advantage of San Francisco and shit outside on the sidewalk.
It would have been spooky though. There's been another normal shit. I'm trying to die as one of the greats, not as like one of the norms.
Bro, you just gotta lock eyes with one of the druggies on the streets, and that'll make it spooky enough.
I remember though, that floor had like it was almost like the Winchester floor or the Winchester house, where it was like just sheer level after level. There were new floors every day. You were like, I've never been here before. But I remember one day I was like, man, I got shit so bad. And I remember being in there, and then I was alone, and then I remember I was like, oh shit, everybody's like outside doing something or like downstairs. And then I took immediately, my first thought was to take a selfie and be like, I'm taking a spooky shit.
That's the
All
story.
right, does anybody want to plug anything?
That's the story we're gonna end on. All right.
Yeah, that's the story now. Spooky shitting.
Uh,
It's not great, but it is what it is.
well, as long as you know.
I'm proud of it. I don't care what you think.
All right, guys, it's been real. Thanks for coming on. We'll have to do it again sometime.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Take care.
See y'all later.